morning, everyone. I know everybody wants to see us doing some work. But for the past, about 2 weeks, it has been rain, constant rain. So we haven't been able to get much of anything done. We had that one nice day and we milled up a couple of logs. Well, we got a downpour yesterday. It was a gully washer. So we didn't get anything done yesterday. We're supposed to have some thunderstorms this afternoon. So again, we don't really want to start a project and then get rained out. So I have a project today that I have to do in the kitchen. Sometimes I just don't like spending the day in the kitchen, but sometimes you have to do that. But before we get started on that, I wanted to show you a couple of changes that we've made around here. I don't know if you've noticed them in the videos, and then there's a couple changes that we've made just recently that haven't been in the videos. One of them is we put the greenhouse back up. It's gonna stay right here semi-permanent, at least for this year. We've staked down the sides because we noticed that when the wind comes through, it'll whip the cover off, the cover gets ripped. It's a real pain in the butt. But we've staked down the sides with the 2x6s, and we drove some metal bars down into the ground, bent it over to hold that down. We've also put 6 T-posts in the ground on the inside, one on each end and one in the middle on both sides of it. So that's there. Another week or two, I'm gonna move my seedlings in here so that they can get more sun than what my grow lights are providing. We still need to put some 2x6s down on this side. The wind comes over the top and it like sucks this side out. A while ago, I don't know if anybody noticed, but the attic room, that's what it's called. The awning had the fabric room attached to it. That was called an attic room. We took that down, and this whole area was full of our stuff because we didn't have any storage. Well, we took the attic room down. We took everything that was here and we put it in the RV because we're not using the RV now except for the bathroom. So the RV has turned into storage. It's got a lot of my tools. This is my new planer that they sent me. I've got a router table, a 6-inch joiner, my vacuum, AC unit we've had for a while, and then the back room back there is full of stuff. So that's where a lot of our stuff went that we didn't want getting wet. Our saddles are in the back. We'll probably never get horses again, but kind of hard to let go of your saddles. You kind of get attached to them. We bought some apple trees. You can't even see it, it's so small. But it's probably 6 feet tall. It goes up to here. And this one's a gala apple. And there's another one right there. We also got this little blueberry bush. This is a Becky Blue rabbit eye blueberry. We have one blueberry bush up there in the orchard, and it produced pretty well last year. I mean, we didn't get a ton or anything, but it's alive and doing all right. So we decided to get another one to put with it. They're in these great big pots. If you can see that. They're in those great big pots because we need to decide where we're putting them. The lady at the nursery told us that they can live in these pots for a year. Because if we decide to put the trees up in the orchard, the ground up there is very acidic, I think you call it. Yes, it's very acidic because blueberries love acidic soil. It's very acidic. I had it tested and it was like 5.5 on the pH scale. Apples and peaches and all that, they don't like acidic soil. So we can either take a large area where we're going to put it and add lime to raise that pH to closer to 6.5 or 7. Or my other option, which I would like to do, is I'm going to have the soil tested down in the barnyard I'm gonna have that tested, and if that's closer to the pH that the apple trees like, I'm gonna put the trees down in the barnyard. My goal is to have food growing in multiple different places, not just up in the orchard / garden area. Another thing we have going on, we bought a hydrant, because if you guys noticed in one of the videos while we were working on the bedroom, this is our water source right here. This is our water down here, and we've got hoses coming off. One goes to the kitchen, one goes to the RV, and one goes to the barnyard. So we bought a frost-free hydrant. Eddie needs to dig a trench from here straight this way into the barnyard. Okay, so today's project is making some pork and beans. So let's get started. In my canner to heat up, I have 7 quart jars, and that is just to heat them up. I'm not going to turn that on yet, because the very first thing we need to do, I have an empty pan here. We're using navy beans. We're gonna rinse them, we're gonna put them in the pot, and we're gonna do what is called a quick soak. We're gonna rinse all the beans, we're gonna put them in the pot with water that goes up 2 inches past the beans. We're gonna turn it on, bring it to a boil. We're gonna let it boil for 3 minutes, and then we're going to cover it and shut it off and let it sit for 1 hour. All right, so first I'm just gonna dump them all into the pot. And then I'll take them over to the sink and I'll rinse them. And then I'll fill it up with water. Well, you want to rinse them, make sure there's no stones in there. Just get all the field dust off of them. Whoops. Well, we have almost 4 pounds now. Okay, let me get these rinsed off and then we will turn them on. Okay, so we're going to turn this on high. We're going to let this come to a boil. We're going to let it boil for 3 minutes. And then, like I said, we're going to put the cover on, shut it off, and let it soak for 1 hour. Okay, while we are waiting for the beans to come to a boil, we have a mail call. So I had a viewer watch our butchering videos when we butchered the pigs, and they sent me this package. And I want to thank them very, very much. This was so sweet. We have a letter. It says, "Hey guys, watched your video of butchering your first hog. You've done a great job. Threw together this knife made from bandsaw sawmill blade, walnut handle harvested from our farm. Would recommend keeping blade oiled with food grade oil, as you know the blades will rust. Hope this comes in handy. Have a great day and keep up the great work." And this was from Jeff Killian, I think it was. Yes. So thank you very much, Jeff. This was really, really sweet of you. We really appreciate it. And it will definitely come in handy because my knives are terrible. So I wanted to show this to you. I haven't used it yet. We've been waiting until we could make a video so that we could open it up. And now I did open it and look at it, but so it feels super, super sharp, but it's comfortable in the hand. He put his initials on the blade there, so you can see that. His initials are on the blade. Very nice handle. So thank you very much, Jeff. This was wonderful. I can't wait to use it. You can smell whatever you put on the handle to preserve it, oil or something. You can smell that. And I'm looking forward to using that. So thank you again. That was very, very sweet of you. We really appreciate it. That there was the hardest shot I've ever tried to do for YouTube. Oh, those onions have me crying really badly. Okay, so the beans have been soaking for an hour. I have cut up 2 onions, as you saw. I also cut up some salt pork. We are getting ready to make the sauce. So here's my beans. Oh man, I didn't even realize I had you guys on Zoom. Hang on just a second, let me fix that. Okay, I hope that's better. Oh, my eyes are burning from those onions. Okay, so the beans have been soaking for an hour. We got the onions cut up, 2 onions for 4 pounds of beans. Cut up some salt pork. I don't know how much was in that package. It was just a small package of salt pork. All right, we're gonna drain the beans. We're gonna put some more water in them, bring them back up to a boil while we're making the sauce. So let me get the beans drained and put some water back in and get these started, and then we'll start on the sauce. I got the beans back, got them rinsed, put back in the pot with some clean water, and I set them on there, bring them back up to a boil while we make the sauce. Now, this sauce, you can change it any way you want. You can basically add whatever you want to make it taste the way you want it to. But this is the way I'm going to do it. We're going to start with some tomato sauce. Now, I don't actually have tomato sauce. I have spaghetti sauce that I canned up last summer. So it has a little bit of seasoning in it. It's a very mild spaghetti sauce. I usually add a lot more to it when I make spaghetti. So, it is a little thick though, so I'm going to add 1 quart of my spaghetti sauce, and I'm going to put a half a quart of water into that. Okay, so we're going to put a half a quart of water in, and we'll give that a stir. We don't want our beans too thick. Okay, that looks more like a tomato sauce instead of, or a tomato juice instead of a tomato paste. Okay, that looks good. That looks like tomato sauce, or tomato juice, I mean. You would normally use about 2 quarts of tomato juice. We got a lot of beans. I think I'm going to add a little bit more of my tomato sauce, spaghetti sauce. I would rather have too much of the sauce than not enough, because if you don't have enough, then you have leftover beans. Okay. Well, we'll just throw the whole thing in there. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and turn the oven on, or the stove top, not the oven. Okay, so we'll get this heating up while we're doing it. Now to this, we're going to add some liquid smoke. I've got my measuring spoons. Okay, so I have hickory flavored liquid smoke, and we're going to put in 1.5 tablespoons of that. Well, it was closer to 2 tablespoons. I don't usually measure anything, I just throw stuff in. Okay, now we also want, this is a real kitchen, I have to rinse as I go or I'll be dripping all over the place. Okay, we're going to add in a teaspoon of allspice. And a teaspoon of cloves. Now we're going to add in 2 teaspoons of ground mustard. Now you could add salt and pepper at this point. I don't like to salt and pepper anything that I'm canning. because Eddie likes a whole bunch of pepper and almost as much salt. I don't like salt or pepper, so we just do it to taste when we eat. Okay, now to this I'm going to add 2 cups of brown sugar. I like to have some metal measuring cups, but I haven't found any yet. So we're just going to add in 2 cups of brown sugar. And molasses. You have to have molasses in beans. Oh, I can't open it. There it goes. Okay. We're going to put in a cup of molasses. This is old-timey sorghum molasses. It's what they sell down here at the local grocery store. Okay. Now we're just going to heat this up. We want to bring it up to a good simmer or a boil. Doesn't really matter, as long as it's nice and hot. Get all the sugars to melt and blend together. Once you get it heated up and the sugar's melted and it's all blended up together, then you can taste it and add whatever you want to add to change the flavor to what you want. It should be a nice deep brick red color. I mean, it doesn't have to be. I suppose it could be green if you wanted it to be. Whatever tastes good to you. Alright, the beans are boiling again. So they're nice and hot. We're going to shut that off. Our sauce is nice and hot. And as you can see, my stove is not big enough with my canner on here, so I got to do a little bit of rearranging, and then we will start filling our jars. I got my beans put into a bowl. I've got my bowl of onions, my bowl of salt pork, and I've got my sauce here. My jars are in the canner, all heated up. So I'm going to grab one out of there. Okay. Funnel in the jar. What we want to do, I'm going to put a little bit of sauce into the bottom of the jar, just because I feel it mixes up better that way. So I'm going to put a little bit of sauce in the bottom. Now we're going to fill up the jar about 3/4 of the way with beans. And these beans are not fully cooked. They are al dente, but they will cook more when they're during the canning process, because they're going to cook in there for 90 minutes. So we're putting this into a quart jar. Okay, that looks good. Ooh, hot, hot, hot. Okay, now we're going to put in a little bit of onions. If we don't throw them all over the counter first. And we're going to throw in a little bit of salt pork. When I was a kid, it used to be a race to see who could get the salt pork out of the beans, because there was like 7 of us, and you know, there's only 1 or 2 pieces of salt pork in a can of beans. Alright, now we're going to fill this up with sauce to 1 inch from the top. Now I fill it a little bit full because when we take the air bubbles out, it's going to go down. So put your juice in, and then run a butter knife or a chopstick or whatever you have down into it to get rid of any air bubbles. And then we'll have to add in some more sauce to bring it back up to the 1 inch mark. And if you didn't know, the 1 inch mark on your jar is right at the base of the neck, so right in here. Okay, now once we have it all filled up, I have a little bit of white vinegar here. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. A little bit of white vinegar to wash off the top. You don't want any solids on there. You don't want any grease on there or anything like that that will keep it from sealing. I got these online. They're from a company called Denali. I was searching for ball lids and I couldn't find any anywhere. So we're going with these. I've used them once and they sealed okay. So we're gonna use them again. Keep our fingers crossed that everything works okay. Okay, now you want to put the lid on, just finger tight, just like that. We're gonna put this in the canner and grab another jar. All right, so again, we're gonna put a little bit of sauce in each one. Sorry if my arm's getting in the way. This kitchen really was not made for filming. Okay, now this time I'm gonna put my onions in at the bottom of the jar, just because that way they're not floating on the top. And my hands are clean. I've washed them about 20 times. Okay, so we'll throw some onions in, and then we're gonna throw in some salt pork. Whoop. Okay, now let me rinse my hand off again. Okay, now the beans. Now you want them about 2/3 full, because you don't want, you know, if you don't put many beans in there, you're just gonna have a lot of juice and not a lot of beans. So you want them about 2/3 full. Whoops, I'm dripping all over the place. I didn't say I was a neat cook, did I? Debubble. Take out all the air pockets, air bubbles. Okay, now we're going to fill them up with juice. I don't know why I keep saying juice. It looks like juice, but it's sauce. Okay, that one looks good. Now that one already looks good. We're going to wash the lid, wash the rims, nice and clean. Ooh, that's hot. They feel a little big on there. I'm not going to be surprised if there's a problem with these lids. Let's hope not. Alright, finger tight. There we go. Alright, I'm going to put these in the pot and finish up the last ones. Let me get the last ones done and we'll go from there. Now this is an old Presto canner. Personally, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Not even one of those new American canners that you keep seeing, everybody. I just can't imagine putting the little weight on top of there and waiting for it to jiggle and be like, is that jiggling enough or too much? I like to have the gauge where I can see exactly how many pounds of pressure I have. That jiggling thing, I don't know, just not my cup of tea, I guess. We're going to can these for 90 minutes. If you did pint jars, it is 75 minutes. We're going to let this come up to temperature. Once it starts blowing a steady stream of steam, you're going to time that for 10 minutes. After the 10 minutes, you put your weight on, and then you wait until this gets up to 11 pounds of pressure here in southern Alabama. We need 11 pounds of pressure. Now that goes by your altitude, so you need to go online, check your altitude, and see what your canning pressure would be for whatever your altitude is. So we're not going to put the weight on until it vents steam for 10 minutes. And you want a steady stream, but I will show you that when it starts steaming. You got quite a bit of that ditch done already.
I'm getting there.
You haven't hit any concrete yet, I see.
No. Or I wouldn't be as far as I am.
This is the ditch I was talking about at the beginning of this video, where we're going to run our water line out to the barnyard for the frost-free hydrant. So Eddie's getting that done while I'm getting the beans made. Okay, so now it's steaming. You can hear it. It sounds like a tea kettle. That has popped up. We're going to time it now for 10 minutes. After the 10 minutes, letting all the steam release, we will put the petcock on, I believe it's called. We'll put that on, let it get up to pressure, and then we're going to cook it for 90 minutes. Now, if your pressure falls below your recommended pressure, then you have to get it back up to pressure and start your timer from the beginning again. So it's important to keep an eye on it and make sure your pressure stays up. With my stove, I have to stay right here, because if I put it on 2, it's a little too high and it'll go up to about 15. If I put it on 1, it's a little too low and it will start dropping. So I have to keep mine right between 1 and 2 and keep adjusting it every now and then. That's this stove for you. Okay, so I will see you when it's all done and we'll see what they look like. Okay, so the beans have finished cooking. They cooked for 90 minutes because I did quarts. So now I've shut the heat off and I'm just going to let the pressure come down naturally. So you can see the pressure is going down. It was on 11 and now it's down to, I don't know, 7 or 8 there. Once that reaches 0, then I will take that off. After taking that off, you'll wait 10, 20 minutes, a couple hours, don't really matter. Then you can take the lid off, but be careful because it will be hot. There'll be hot steam, so be careful, don't burn yourself. And as soon as I can open this up, we will see what they look like and see if those lids actually held. I'm a little bit worried about those lids. I've never heard of that brand before, so we'll see what happened. All right, guys, I just took the cover off the canner, and unfortunately what I was afraid was going to happen did happen. When I bought these jar lids, I did read the reviews, and a lot of the people in the reviews said that the lids buckled. Well, if we take them out of the canner here, that one's all right. This one is not. You can see it's buckled right here. So I was a little worried that was going to happen. Some of them are okay. It looks like a total of 3 of them are all right out of 7. So 3 are okay and 4 are not. So unfortunately for me, that means I'm going to have to reprocess the 4 that are not okay. But I don't have any other lids, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick these beans in the freezer, because I have looked everywhere and I cannot find any canning lids anywhere. That's why I bought those Denali lids, or the lids from Denali or whatever they were. That's why I bought those, because I couldn't find any other ones. But once these all totally cool down, I think I'll take the ones that did not seal right, the ones that buckled, and I'll put them in the freezer, and I'll know better for next time. All right, guys, well, that's all I have for you today. and I appreciate it if you've made it to the end of the video. I know it was probably a little boring. It was boring for me all day, just twiddling my thumbs, waiting for the canner and waiting for the time to go by. And so I thank you all for watching if you made it this far, and I will see you next time.